So Hero Factory gave us two brilliant bike sets, the Furno bike and Speeda Demon. But which one's better? Let's decide in this video review. And while we're at it, let's see how we can use some of the different pieces that come in this set when we build our own LEGO creations. Let's get started. Starting off in the red corner with Furno and his Furno bike. I mean, this is one of the coolest sets to come out of 2010 Hero Factory. Your standard Hero Factory hero on a bike? What's cooler than that? I love that they found a fun and cool way to make a standard hero a lot more dynamic and a lot more interesting. Points for Furno. That being said, the Furno that rides this bike, it's just kind of okay. When we compare him to the standard issue Furno canister set, he's missing a lot of the fun details that make him look so cool. You know, the addition of Keat orange to the limbs. That looks really nice. That little pop of color does a lot. He also has leg armor, which is absent from the Furno bike set. And then he's got his classic Furno blades. It's such a shame to not see them in this set. I mean, how much better does this set look when this version of Furno is riding on the bike? I mean, he can zoom past bad guys and cut them up with his swords. So cool. Now, look, I'm sure LEGO had reasons for changing the Furno that comes in this set. It's likely related to like budget or piece count limitations, or they just wanted to make him a little bit different so that you didn't feel like you were buying the exact same Furno in two sets. But I don't know, man. No points for Furno in this set. I personally prefer the classic canister Furno. Now, sure, I'm giving him a bad rap, but this version of Furno is still so cool. He attaches onto the bike by gripping the handles and attaching these blue pins on his new mutter feet onto the side of the bike. Now, the bike itself, it's got some fun functions and playability. You've got these Zamisphere launchers on the side of the bike, always cool. The front wheel can change directions and swivel depending on how you move it, and that's perfect for playability, right? A lot of good functionality. And there's also this little kickstand, which helps the bike stay upright. It's a subtle thing, but it helps with displaying this and also playing with the set. So even more points for the Furno bike, baby. And there's plenty of other lovely details on every inch of this bike. It just looks really nice with a brilliant color scheme and a surprising amount of detail as well. Now, I very much love this central section here, using this blade piece to kind of sort of resemble an engine, but also just to perfectly fill in these gaps and armor up this bike to make it look compact and pretty. It's so sturdy, it's so clean. There's so much to love here. Yeah, dude, the Furno bike is a brilliant set. But will Speeda Demon win against the Furno bike? Let's see. So this set came out a little bit later in the life cycle of Hero Factory. This released in 2012. But I do appreciate that LEGO brought back bikes for Hero Factory characters, and that they didn't just release another humanoid titan that was the same as all the others. They gave it a vehicle, they did something to make it more interesting. Plus, if you bought Furno back in 2010, you could have cool bike battles between the two of them. And it lets you get more play out of your older toys. So that's great. Very much in the spirit of LEGO. Points for Speeda Demon. And look, Speeda Demon looks amazing. He's a little goofy, but he's kinda great, and the goofiness makes him look cool. So one confusing thing, the box depicts him with these lightning pieces on his hands, but the way he grips the handlebars on the bike, it makes it look like the lightning is coming off of those handlebars. So I'm not sure if he just always has lightning flowing out of his hands, or if that's actually meant to be a part of the bike. It's not really super clear, but it is what it is. It does look kinda cool either way. Now, something that's great about Speeda Demon is that he has lots of posability, and that's all thanks to the CCBS pieces that are used in this set. Of course, CCBS didn't exist when the Furno bike came out, and the limbs that Furno has, they give him no elbow articulation and no knee articulation whatsoever. So Speeda Demon certainly has him beat in the posability department. And he also has him beat because he's got 4 limbs. Now, these back arms with these cool golden blades, they are just kind of thrown onto the torso. It's not the most elegant connection. But come on, 4 arms? That means he can put 2 hands on the bike and drive it safely, but also have additional limbs to fight people as he's riding past them at fast speeds. What a great idea. They made the posability work well in this set. Lots to love here. Now, the bike itself. I remember as a kid, I was so excited to buy this set because it was purple. Purple's such an exciting color, and back then it was a little bit more rare than it is today. But when you actually look at the bike, there's not actually that many purple pieces to it. It's really just these 2 wheels, these series of purple lift arms, this jet piece, and this scroll armor piece. Yeah, it's a nice amount, there's still a few pieces there, but they're not the most versatile pieces to use in MOCs. You know, a set like Voltix, for example, while they only came with 3 purple pieces, at least these are all CCBS armor pieces, so it's way easier to use them in your own creations. I mean, like purple wheels, for example, it's not something that's super easy to use outside of the context of wheels. It's way harder to use on your average construction humanoid MOC. They of course have uses, I don't want to say these are useless pieces, there's many ways you could use these, but CCBS armor pieces, way more versatile. So look, as exciting as the purple is, you don't get as much as you think. Now, the bike itself, it's not as compact and as robust as Furno's bike is. Furno had all that cool armoring on the sides, but this one has a lot of gaps in the center. And as a kid, yeah, it didn't really grab me that much. But I don't know, as an adult, it has grown on me. It looks like this bike was more like thrown together, like Speeda Demon had to make it himself from salvage, so it does mean that areas maybe aren't as fleshed out. I mean, like this electricity flaring out of the sides. That doesn't look particularly safe, and that's probably because this was just sort of thrown together in a more shotty way. But hey, he still has a bike and he's definitely going to commit crimes with it. You're not really going to be doing that with a flashy bike like Furno has. Furno's going to use that bike to defend Makuhiro City. It's got all that armor because he's using it for defense. But Speeda Demons is more stripped down and it's all about being fast and reckless, even if it's not that safe. So, you know, the bike almost establishes a little bit of character for Speeda Demon. You can look at it and you can get a bit of a better picture of who this guy is. But at the end of the day, I gotta admit, Furno's clean design on his bike, it does look a lot better. Maybe I'll give him half a point instead, because there's still some cool factor to this bike, but it's not as cool as the other one. Now, one issue about Speeda Demon's bike is the lack of a kickstand. The bike struggles to actually stand up straight if Speeda Demon isn't sitting on it. You can angle it at just the right angle and it does stay upright, but the lack of a kickstand is certainly noticeable, especially when Furno's bike had one and now this set doesn't. One other thing about Speeda Demon, he attaches to the bike a little differently to Furno. He grabs the handlebars in much the same way as Furno, but then this socket piece on the seat connects to his crotch. This allows him to stay on the bike, but still have his limbs move as much as he wants. And I like that a lot. Again, this leaves room for way more playability, and he's firmly locked onto that bike. He ain't moving no matter what. This is a great way to take advantage of how poseable this toy is. But regardless, this is a wonderful set with a striking color scheme and a pretty solid overall design. So that's Speeda Demon, that's the Furno bike. But who's better? Well, let's tally up those scores and see who the winner is for today. So the Furno bike came in with 5 points, and Speeda Demon came in with 3.5 points. So it looks like our winner today is the Furno bike. I mean, it is a fantastic set, it just makes sense. But I still love Speeda Demon, and to make up for his loss, let's take a look at a revamp of Speeda Demon, which would certainly allow it to beat the Furno bike if this was how the set looked. So this is a Speeda Demon revamp built by Ethan Westervelt. Look at this snazzy new bike, all this awesome piping and the brilliant engines and other mechanical details, and then the skull decoration at the front end of the bike. Everything looks so sick. When I mentioned how much I love the more stripped back design of this bike, this was kind of how I was picturing it. Everything about this is so menacing, so mean, and so fitting for a villain. And then the changes to Speeda Demon are awesome, giving him a punk rock jacket and some jeans. That looks great. And also the fact that the mask now has some hero cores on the inside so it looks like they have teeth there, genius. And the choice to add the additional limbs on the back, but this time make them a little bit more thin and a bit more like an additional weapon backpack thing. That's a nice change. There's certainly a lot to love here. But what about using the pieces that come in both of these sets in your own MOCs? If you want to use Speeda Demon parts, Dylan Meaves has built a MOC here that uses a few of his pieces. These electricity pieces, they work super well given that this guy has electrical powers. It's a very good piece to be able to use to establish that kind of power set for a character. And then we can also see this specific jet armor piece in purple. It's being used here on the torso, and doesn't that look lovely? If you wanted to use this purple Skrull armor, here's a MOC that I made ages ago. It's a pretty outdated old MOC that I built, but you can see I've used these purple pieces in a few different places, and the intention with this MOC was to use those purple pieces in the context of many other purple parts to create a cool Transformers-inspired MOC. This piece is so good in purple. Velociraptor has used Speeda Demon's recolored Black Phantom mask on his Elec revamp. It's being used as crotch armor. It's not the most glorious use. I'm sure Speeda Demon feels a little embarrassed, but it certainly fits the vibe of this MOC very, very well. It's a good part use. Now, if you wanted to use some of the pieces that come in the Furno bike set, we could use these silver weapon pieces to build a lovely guitar, much like Matt Goldberg has done here. Rock Turn's guitar uses them, and the shape of these pieces together like this makes for a pretty decent guitar design. Super good idea. The bike also comes with an orange Borok windshield piece, and it even has the same kind of coloration and marbling as the original Borok headpieces do. So there's no reason you can't do like Eli J. Brony has done here and build an orange Borok. It just makes sense. It's using some custom pieces for those weapons, so you may struggle to recreate something that looks exactly like that if you don't have access to a 3D printer or whatever. But hey, what a good Borok, they look great in orange. You also get 4 of these engine pieces in the Furno bike. It's a great little piece, and we can see that Ron Folkers has used them here on his Pahatu G2 revamp, using them as a piece to bridge the elbow into the arm design. That looks so nice. There's a great energy to it that matches the vibe of Pahatu very, very well. Good idea. Some other nice orange pieces in this set include these awesome Pahatu Fantoka arm pieces. It's a shame you only get 1 in the set, because having a pair of them would be quite nice. Now, some ways that you could use them include some leg armor, like this mock here. This is built by Matt Goldberg, and the awesome halo aesthetic of this, yeah, that piece fits that vibe very, very well. If you want some cool looking sci-fi leg armor, this is certainly something you could do. Or you could do something much like Todoric has done here. Once again, it's a more sci-fi context, but having so many of them together like that, it creates a very distinct and unique alien shape. It's cool, isn't it? Now sure, none of these use the orange version of that piece, but hey, there's no reason you couldn't do something very similar to this, but just in orange. Speaking of orange, here's a lovely centipede mock that Aiden Builds has built. I'm sure you've already noticed what the piece is, but they're using this orange shield element, and you get 2 of them in the Furno bike. But if you get even more of them, you could spam them all over a mock like this, and the vibe that this creates, it mimics the look of a bug very, very well, so it's a good idea. That's the end of the Battle of the Bikes. I hope you enjoyed seeing everything from highlights of these wonderful sets to the different ways that you could use their pieces, and a lovely revamp as well. Be sure to check the links in the description below, and you can see other builds built by these incredible mockists. They're definitely worth checking out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy building, and bye for now. Also, it's Hero February. Go build some heroes.